What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're back with that juicy Destiny 2 content. Daily Destiny 2 content. Man, remember when people used to say that? But we've got some updates about Bungie, how they're gearing up for future content, but also the loss of even more key developers. So we'll talk about what that could mean, but we're going to touch on some of the remaining rewards, hidden quests and stuff for this season, with some additional details about Season 7, Season of Opulence, with extra words about nerfs, Xur's bugginess, and some other relevant news about Destiny 2 right now. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, a rating below really helps me out, but now let's get into it. So first up, some new stuff joining the Destiny discussion in the community. A lot of folks have been talking about senior leads and designers at Bungie, and a few more of them are going to be leaving the studio. So firstly, Jill Shah, who's the senior writer on Destiny 2, said the last 4 or so years working on Destiny have been incredible, and now after 6 releases, today was my last day at Bungie, it's time to say fare thee well. And secondly, Joe Blackburn, previously the raid lead at Bungie, who's worked on many of the raids that we've seen, but also he more recently took a different design position, but is now also leaving the studio. And this is in addition to Sandbox leads Josh Hamrick, designer John Wisniewski, and Claude Jerome. MTash made a video speaking about this yesterday. I didn't actually know yet another Sandbox designer was leaving Bungie, and all of these folks are pretty well known in the community, so of course we do wish them all the best, and they've been very influential in their specific departments, but there is concern from players about seeing this kind of turnover. And it's kind of understandable, you know, especially when we're talking about well-known or long-time Bungie developers. And it does raise some questions about what is going on at Bungie right now, whether Bungie are restructuring things, whether these folks are just looking for something fresh to work on. You know, this does happen, especially in a creative line of work where it can be beneficial to move on to something fresh eventually. But yeah, safe to say things are definitely changing over at Bungie, and that includes that they are hiring new people as well. They've even hired a top PvP player, BSK Change, to work with Bungie and contribute to that future PvP content that they teased for later this year. Probably that will be the fall release in September or beyond. So Bungie are definitely working on that, and they've also teased reveals which are likely going to happen at GuardianCon in July. So that could well be where we get our first look at what comes in September, but with so much clearly changing over at Bungie, I'd definitely be curious to hear what you guys think down below. Next though, let's talk about some interesting upcoming content, including what appears to be the free exotic quest on the roadmap, and potentially some other neat rewards. And JP Deathblade over on Reddit actually summarized some of what we know about this stuff, so I'll link that post down below, but they go over some of the relevant information. So as we've discussed, there does appear to be a classified exotic weapon placeholder, which is basically the collection node for a weapon. And we can see this on Destiny sets right here. So this will possibly be our free exotic quest reward, and that's just based on what we can see in the database, which of course can change, although the most noticeable things like this do tend to be roughly what we think they are after some research. And JP lists some hidden perks in the database which could potentially be linked to some of these weapons. And that would include once more, where reloading increases the weapon's damage if you hit with at least half the rounds in the magazine, but fail to kill anything, as well as the perk Hailstorm. Kills increase this weapon's damage and begin to steadily reload the magazine from reserves until you stop firing. Now these are listed as legendary traits, so they could absolutely be legendary perks or pinnacle weapon type bonuses, but it's worth mentioning that we do see other exotic bonuses listed as legendary traits. One example would be Dual Speed Receiver, which is on the Soros regime. But now that folks are talking about these bonuses, there's some speculation. Could they be kind of reworked bad juju style perks? And of course that's possible, but these bonuses could be completely separate things. JP also mentioned a possible hidden energy weapon, which is classified as far as anybody knows, but there are some Eververse bundles which appear to actually be linked to this in some way. And it's kind of curious because we've seen this before. We had 2 new Eververse ornaments for Whisper of the Worm, and they popped up when that quest dropped, and we had the same thing for Thunderlord. And these 2 bundles are tied to a weapon, so maybe this is going to be a thing. And on the subject of that quest itself, spoiler alert here, naturally, but Grimnir on Raid Secrets shared what appears to be a 9-step questline for an upcoming reward. Most of the steps are hidden or in random order, but we can see the requirement for certain keycards in order to access something. And the icons you can see on screen are mock-ups, by the way. The actual icons aren't in the game yet, these are just kind of a little bit of visualization. But also for the quest is a listing for a heroic mission and a text line that reads, "Thwart a heist alongside a new ally." And this is almost certainly the vault break in the old tower ruins, which is also a hidden interaction from the Drifter. But now that this is getting some more attention, folks are wondering, who is this new ally going to be? A lot of players have mentioned the possibility of Prince Aldrin, and while anything seems possible, I think that Aldrin will probably feature in content further down the road, be it in D2 or the next game. And briefly on that subject, Brandon O'Neill, who voices Aldrin, is often posting and talking about Destiny. He's been liking tweets about the future of Prince Aldrin in the game, so given that Aldrin is now risen, yeah, there's certainly more of Aldrin to come in the future. But back to that quest, this could possibly be linked to the Allegiance. In particular, Ornor, the Praxic Warlock who guides the Vanguard side of the quest, could possibly be that ally. Either way though, the Cryptarch Vault in the Old Tower isn't pure speculation on what's in the database. There is even a reference to the existence of this vault, security clearance in the Ruined Tower, and an exiled Cryptarch, Lavinia, who ventured not once, but twice into this vault without authorization. And on the second occasion, she actually stole an Ahamkara bone from within. But of course, she was caught and then banned from the city. And you can see that in some of the lore cards this season. So some very interesting potential links there, but when could all of this actually happen? Well, we now know about the May update for the game, and that'll be update 2.2.2, and it's going to drop sometime after the conclusion of the Revelry, so most likely a week or so after the update. And because the game is missing a lot of files, even the rewards for this quest, this content will most likely be present in that mid-May update. So let us know your thoughts about the quest, and what that reward could be. It could possibly be linked to those hidden perks, but of course, from what we have on the roadmap and those classified weapons, it's definitely clear that we're getting something else this season. But in case you missed it, May, and the update that we get then will be where we see the change to Spectral Blades, and Bungie have some other small fixes, like the Revelry Triumph Verdant Light Competitive, and this will be auto-completed for players who produce at least 20 Orbs of Light towards that Triumph before the event ends. And when the May update drops, Bungie say that that competitive Triumph will automatically be awarded. But next, after the May update, we'll have Season of Opulence, and that will be another more major update for the game. And in Season 7, we'll be getting things like Gunsmith Bounties, which can award Masterwork Cores, and even Reputation Points, and we're awaiting a few more details on those, but Bungie are also taking feedback to buff certain weapons in the update, such as the Oxygen Scout Rifle, especially in light of their Lunar Nerf announcement recently, and Cosmo said they'll let the team know that there's a lot of feedback to buff Oxygen SR3. Also, a separate issue right here, but Bungie confirmed that Xur's random rolls are indeed not working properly right now. And we've been discussing this in the weekly Xur video, so there we have it. The change that they implemented in one of the previous updates hasn't actually worked, and that's why we're still getting hand cannon, fusion rifle, pretty much the same set of, like 4 bonuses on every piece of armor. So they're looking into that, as well as that issue with the invitation of the 9 this week, so hopefully that one will be fixed pretty soon too. Now, in Season of Opulence, we're getting a pretty big nerf or adjustment to Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. I'm sure you've all heard about this one by now, but Bungie have given a little extra clarity on how the changes will affect the weapon. So DMG added that the weapon retains the recoil and animation of the 180 RPM precision hand cannons. The change to Magnificent Howl prevents 2-tap kills. For example, players could get 2 headshots on one enemy, and that would proc Magnificent Howl, and then defeat another in just 2 headshots. So of course Bungie are dropping the rate of fire to 150 RPM, but otherwise the weapon pretty much stays the same, minus the change to Magnificent Howl. So that is worth bearing in mind. DMG also added that the team has been hard at work on the changes and ensuring the weapons are still viable, and coming from playtests, they still feel to be the pinnacle legendary hand cannons of D2. They will, however, continue to watch the feedback as the changes go live in Season of Opulence, so yeah, we'll have to see how it turns out. There has been a lot of mixed feedback about this change though, and it's certainly an understandable one. Obviously these weapons are very, very powerful, but they are pinnacle weapons, and arguably some of the more difficult weapons to actually acquire in the game, especially Not Forgotten. So again, first and foremost, to let me know your thoughts about those changes down below, but yeah, just thought I'd give you a bit of extra info that we got from DMG. So that really rounds up what we know about upcoming content and some of the additional changes. Of course, when it comes to Season of Opulence reveals, we really should expect further details to start rolling out over the next couple of weeks, but as we've seen with other annual pass drops, Bungie do tend to kind of drop a vidoc or press reveal for that pretty close to when it actually releases. Either way, we're just over a month away from Season 7. And another thing to bear in mind for mid-May would be the last known or listed Queen's Court visit. And with data to suggest that the curse will eventually break in Dreaming City, there's a lot of speculation that something is going to happen in mid-May, and that would essentially be on the next full curse week. So maybe we'll get another cutscene, maybe new content, and we'll actually need to break the curse. Perhaps we'll have a battle with Quiria in the Dreaming City, or perhaps it will be a bit of an anticlimax. We'll just have to wait and see. Could we finally get on top of that Dreaming City bridge heading to the tower above, like the hunter shown in the trailer? Either way, mid-May is when we'll probably find out. Also, May will bring the final invitation of the 9, and seeing as Mara and the 9 are certainly associated, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting time, plus we'll probably get at least a few details about Opulence, like I said, because Bungie will kind of want to have the space to talk about what's happening in Year 3 throughout the summer. For now though guys, that is going to summarize the video for today. We spoke a couple of days back about the importance of a potential expansion or bigger DLC in September. With so many changes happening in the game, big kind of sandbox adjustments to weapons that people are very attached to, obviously a future roadmap of content and the community's hunger for more information about what we're gonna get. You know, we're seeing changes at Bungie, and there are big questions about Year 3 and Destiny 3. So in general, I'd be curious to get a sense of how you feel right now, your sentiment towards Destiny on the whole. But personally, I'm hopeful that as we lead up to Year 3, we'll see what Bungie have got in store, and that they can do a pretty good job of that, while also working towards a much better launch for a hopeful Destiny 3. So as always, I would be curious to hear your thoughts. But if you've enjoyed this video on the whole, guys, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe. You can turn on notifications if you want to keep up to date with everything related to the game, but otherwise, thank you as always for tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.